I'm Ed Adams, and you're listening to the AFCA Podcast. Hey, everybody, and welcome to the AFCA Podcast. And in this episode, we're talking to the founders of the Martha's Vineyard African American Film Festival. Now I'll give you all the details after the break. The AFCA Podcast is sponsored by Morgan Stanley Global Sports and Entertainment. Celebrating its 23rd year, the Martha's Vineyard African American Film Festival kicks off annually in August. Now, the festival, located on the picturesque island in which it's aptly named, is a hallmark event celebrating and uplifting the voices and stories of Black filmmakers. So for 9 days, independent and established African American filmmakers showcase their feature films, documentaries, and shorts from around the world. Now, the festival is also an Oscar qualifying festival in the short film category. Now, this festival was created by husband and wife team Floyd and Stephanie Rance, and their story on how they got the festival started and off the ground is truly inspiring. But it's best to learn their journey in their own words. And I had the opportunity to speak to Floyd and Stephanie Rance via Zoom recently about the festival, its origins, and more. Well, Stephanie and Floyd, welcome to the AFCA Podcast.
Thank you for having us.
Hi, everyone.
Awesome. As I was doing my research, I became an instant and amazing fan of what you do in the festival.
Oh.
So I want to start with the very basic conversation, which is, so Stephanie, I read that you actually started out in corporate America, and Floyd, I read that you had your own production company. So talk to me about how this festival came into being.
Yeah. Wow. Let me go back 23 years. So Floyd and I were, we used to hang out on Martha's Vineyard. We were dating on the Vineyard. So that's how we knew about Martha's Vineyard. And he was working on a film in Barbados, and I went to hang out with him. And we both had this idea of like, let's do something on the Vineyard. Let's do a film festival. Let's figure this out. And my first instinct was to do it on Barbados, because I was like, oh, free trip to Barbados every year. So I reached out to the Tourism Authority in Barbados, and as luck would have it, they were looking to get more African Americans to come to Barbados. There were a lot of Canadians. So he and I put together a pitch deck, and I was like, what's a pitch deck? I had no idea what I was doing. And I came up with 3 ideas, and one was bike riding around the island, because that was big back then, doing bike tours. Another was a big music concert because of my music industry connections and Floyd's connections. And the third was a film festival because Floyd was in the film industry. So it was like, oh, let's do a film festival. So of course they picked on number 3, and we were like, yeah, we could do it. No problem. Sure. I had no idea, to be honest, how to do this. So, that's how it happened. We did it. Barbados was our first sponsor, and they were fantastic. And then 9/11 happened, and then we had to pivot, which is horrible. So we had Barbados, we had, I think, Martell Cognac and some other sponsor. And 9/11 happened, and they pulled out. And we were like, oh my God, what are we going to do? At that time, we had like 10 films and 2 sponsors or something like that. And we pivoted, and we're like, let's just do it on Martha's Vineyard, because prior to that, we had done other activations just to do them on the Vineyard with Martell Cognac and a couple of other people. So Martha's Vineyard was actually plan B.
Yeah, I have a lot more to add to that. It was a long time ago. I think what Stephanie is leaving out is before any of that, we used to do ski trips. Stephanie worked in the music industry and I worked in the film business, and we got together and we would try to bring like the 2 worlds together. And so we started out with just like one bus. That was when this is like in the 90s. You could rent a bus basically, and I think they would give you an extra room if you filled it or something like that. And it really wasn't about money. We were just trying to, I guess, have fun. We were in our 20s. And so we would rent these buses or bus, and most of the people were in the music business, but there were some film folks who came. And from what I remember, one of my friends came, and he had a film, and we would show his film on the bus ride up to whether it was Vermont or Cornell or Maine or wherever we went. We did that for, I think it was 2 years, it may have been 3 years, and the event grew as well. Like it went from one bus to two buses. So that was kind of like the early beginnings of it, without us even knowing about what we were getting into. So then you can segue to her story.
Okay.
But before that was the ski trips.
Nice.
Those were kind of like the impotence of it without us even knowing. And I think that was right after we got married, I think. So really what happened was we were married, and we were just newly married. I don't think we were even married 10 years. And so when we started the festival, we were actually procreating as well. So my son was 1 year old. We had just had our first child. He was 1. And then in the second year, my wife was pregnant at the time. So we were really kind of like nesting and procreating. So the film festival was kind of like our third child, if you will.
Oh, wow.
They all kind of came together, the first child, second child, and then the film festival. We were procreating, and they're all in their 20s now, which is a blessing.
That's a nice way to put it. I love it.
It's a tremendous,
so
tremendous
speaking
blessing.
about that, I'll pitch this to you, Stephanie. Like, one of the things that I love about, as I was reading about this festival, you have the thing that is so important is the African American part of that. There's the African American Film Festival. And from what you're talking about and what you were planning, and you said you didn't really have a plan, how did you decide to make it an African American film festival? What made you decide to differentiate it this way?
I'm Black, and I don't know, I'm Black. Why would I, you know what I mean?
I love it.
And I love being Black, and I do Black shit. All right. So I don't know.
I think what it was
I'm like, say less, baby, say less.
Yeah, I think it was kind of like we didn't think of a whole bunch of names and put them in a hat and pull one out.
That's true.
And I think we just did the obvious, which was Martha's Vineyard African American Film Festival. And I think that was pretty much the obvious. I mean, we didn't have a long-term plan.
No.
But now we've come up with the other title, which is the Summer's Finest Film Festival. It's like that was when we started getting going. It was like, oh, okay, Summer's Finest Film Festival. So that's kind of like the alter ego name, if you will.
Right.
All right. I see. So but you have grown. I mean, and congratulations on over 20 plus years of your success. But it is a big differentiator when you look at all of the other tiered festivals, right? When people think about like Tribeca and others, like, you're right up there with them. And I would think that distinguished thing that you do have a multicultural segment is important. Is that true?
Absolutely. It's funny when we first did this, and I'll be honest with you, there was no vision board that Floyd and I had. Like, we never thought it would be 23 years or 24. This is our 23rd year. We're going into that. I never thought, I'd left corporate America. I wanted to have children. I was in the entertainment industry. It's really stressful, and it's hard to do anything but that because it's all consuming, same with Floyd. So, for me, when we started this festival, I thought if I do this film festival, then, Disney will be like, oh my God, she's so amazing. Let's hire her to be the blah blah, not knowing that this was the thing I was supposed to be doing. You know what I mean? Like, he and I were supposed to do this. And when we first started it in our brownstone in Brooklyn in Park Slope, we would go to the post office, the big post office in where we were in Brooklyn, and we would get these VHSs. And at that point, we realized, I think we have something here. There's a need for representation on the big and small screen for people who look like us. And that's when it was like, this is so needed. Let's do this. Let's really, and then it just grew. It just grew and grew and grew. Like he said, it's our third child. Yeah. Our eldest child, right? It was the film festival, Zaire, and then Zoe. Yeah, it's crazy. So we procreated 3 things.
I was going to say, I love your Black job, but I also like your third kid. So
thank you so much.
Now, Floyd, from what we just heard, so Stephanie kind of introduced you to Martha's Vineyard, correct?
I would say, yeah, I'd say you're absolutely right about that. She when we were dating,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't remember the exact conversation, but yeah, she said probably let's go, and I probably was very reluctant.
Yes.
Went kicking and screaming for sure. And that's what's interesting. It's like most men when they go to Martha's Vineyard, they don't have a clue. They don't know. They're like, what are we getting into? What are you doing now?
Right.
And if they're dating, they're just trying to like, be romantic, I guess, for lack of a better term. But there's really not a lot of it's very female friendly is what I want to say. The island, there's a lot of shopping. They like that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's picturesque. And unless it's a really outgoing gal, and meaning that she likes to ride bikes and go to the beach and things of that nature. And I'm talking about a 20-year-old. A lot of people, and we did all the moped stuff. Like we did the mopeds, the bikes. After you do all that stuff, you're always like, well, what else is there to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so what we did was we filled a void. But back to your original question was, yes, Stephanie did introduce me to Martha's Vineyard.
Okay. So, in the follow up to that question is that now you've been there for over 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like the question that I want to ask is how has the festival and specifically around the legacy of the Black culture integrated into this experience that you have created today?
Yeah.
How has the festival? Just say it again. How is the festival?
So how has the festival has now been there for over 20 years?
Uh-huh.
How has the festival integrated and kind of promoted the legacy of the Black culture that Martha's Vineyard has? And I just kind of curious, like, has there been any kind of integration into the cultural aspects of Martha's Vineyard outside of the kind of known things or the things that you're doing? Are they integrated? Or are they separate? Or how do you bring in that culture?
No,
Yeah,
I think it's absolutely integrated. As I said earlier, we fill the void.
Mm-hmm.
There was a big space there that we were not really aware of in our 20s. And we kind of landed and filled that void for the African Americans on Martha's Vineyard, for the Black people on Martha's Vineyard. Now that's in the beginning, like the first 5 years, right? So we weren't really, trust me, we didn't have a clue, right? We weren't targeting anyone, and there was no marketing and any of that kind of stuff going on. But as we grew, we realized, that these people had homes on the island, and they were kind of coming back, and they were spreading the word and things of that nature. And this is all before Facebook and all the social media platforms. So yeah, we are entrenched in the culture of Martha's Vineyard. I mean, all the businesses, particularly when we first started, we were on Main Street in Vineyard Haven, and for those who know, they know we were at the Mansion House. And all the businesses on that Main Street, they all benefited from the festival, because people would go get food and things of that nature, and then come to the festival, and then go get something to eat, and then come back to the festival and things of that nature. So they see their bottom line growing. And when we left, they're like, "Wait, where'd you guys go? Where'd you guys go? We missed you." And they're like, "No, we're in Mo Bluffs now." So yeah, we're entrenched in the community now. Not just for Black folks, the whole island knows about it. The whole island benefits from it. And so, we're knee deep at this point. At this point, it's not about me, and it's not about her. It's about the whole island, honestly.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I would add to that. Yeah, absolutely everything he said. I mean, and just to give credit, there was an African American experience already on Martha's Vineyard. There is huge Black history on that island. I think what Floyd and I have done is just really amplified it and put a megaphone and a big spotlight on that island. Because, to be honest, all of these huge companies and studios they weren't checking for Martha's Vineyard back then. And since Floyd and I have been there for so long, every major studio gives us an amazing multicultural film to show. We've had almost every big Black celebrity that you can imagine has been on the island. We, jump-started careers of so many filmmakers that you've heard of. It is our happy place, and we are happy to support the island from an economic standpoint, because that's really what it's all about, right? Like, to Floyd's
Absolutely.
point, when we left Vineyard Haven, yeah, those businesses were like, wait, no, don't leave us, because because people, Black people like to shop. We spend money, and then
Hmm.
we went to OB, like the impact was felt. It's to the point now where I would think, I know that a lot of businesses in all of the towns, in Edgartown, Vineyard Haven, OB, they're dying they always want to partner with us and do some little activation inside their restaurant or store, because they know that we're going to drive the crowd.
Love it. So I have a follow-up question. I don't know who should take this one. All right. So here we are. We're on Martha's Vineyard. I did my Googling. And when you think about the growth of your festival, which has, everything I've read has just been phenomenal. And through leaps and bounds, there's a lot of change, right? You grow. But the question is, how do you maintain the impact and growth of your festival without harming the footprint of Martha's Vineyard? Because it does it has a lot of charm. It does have a certain look and feel about it, and you can tell that they preserve that.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the logistics of you developing growth and maintaining their status quo?
Well, we're not, that's a great question. We're not messing up what, like I'm very cognizant and aware of Martha's Vineyard before me and Martha's Vineyard when the festival is not there. And this is before this is even, and I try to honor everything that was in place, and they have in place. So for example, like if they have a sound ordinance and it ends at let's say it's 10 p.m., then we honor it. That's it, and there's no need to complain about it. We're not trying to come in and push this way or that way. We're just saying, just give us this little space right here and let us do what we do, and we honor whatever else is in place, whether it's a sound ordinance or parking or etc. Now another thing is like, we're at the high school, and it's the only high school on the island, and it's kind of like tucked away, and it's kind of off the beaten path, if you will. So we're not really up against the neighbors, and we're not in a residential area. We have free parking there. So everything worked out perfectly as far as that is concerned. The trash, we have trash there. I hope I'm answering your question. I really
Yeah,
am.
you are. You
Okay.
are. I mean,
So
it's the minutia
own...
sometimes that really tells the story, right?
Right.
Yeah, exactly. We have our own trash bins and stuff. So we kind of have our own private area, if you will, by being at the high school. And so we're not disturbing anyone or anything. We clean up, we clean the venue. I mean, we're actually, I remember when we first went to the high school, we actually brought life to the high school, because
We sure
it
did.
just seemed like there was nothing going on
Sure
there.
did, yeah.
And I
Yeah.
would walk in and I'd say,
Yeah.
like, man, this place is amazing. Like, why is no one using this place? It's like a 700 seat auditorium. I don't know if you've been there or not, but it's huge. It's like really cavernous. It's huge. It's enormous. They have a stage and all this stuff, and I'm just like, why was no one using this place? It's amazing. And we kind of saw it when it was sort of kind of brand new. So yeah, and it wasn't really being, at least I didn't see it being used. It might have, they were using it for smaller things, things, respectfully, smaller things, local things, right? So now that we came in, I think it has revitalized it, and more people are starting to use it, and that generates money for the high school as well. So we go out of our way to honor whatever was already in place before we were there, and when we're not, active in August.
Awesome.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. And I'll say that the festival is integrated into Martha's Vineyard. It really is. We have volunteers who live there or who summer there, and we also have, like I said, we always promote the businesses that are on the island. I mean, I'll be honest, in the beginning it was sort of like, who are they? What are they doing? And then once they realized that we were doing something positive, the island definitely opened its arms to us. But we respect the island and what it has. The thing about Martha's Vineyard is that a lot of folks want to come there and do these huge activation, like they don't they want to do these huge activations and not understanding that, yeah, the vineyard has a really great way of making you disappear if they don't want you there. And I
Oh,
think
wow.
we really have to respect who they are and what they do. Yeah, it is a time warp. They're not 21st century, but that's how they like it. And if you don't like that, you can go do something else somewhere else. But we're integrated into the society of Martha's Vineyard, absolutely, and we respect it.
I love it. So no Hyatt yacht coming in to
No, God, no.
There is a yacht
just
there, but
just
that's on the
asking.
Hyatt
No
yacht,
Carnival
yeah.
cruises allowed.
Yeah.
Well,
Perfect.
no, the cruises can come, but
The
there's not
cruises
gonna,
come.
there's no Starbucks
Really?
on Martha's Vineyard. There's no, there's not gonna be a Target. That's not gonna happen.
Right.
Although it should, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's changing. Every year, the island changes. That's one thing I will say.
Yeah.
Every year you
Mhm.
go back, there's a new restaurant, and one has come in and one has gone away.
Mhm.
Residents have changed. Like there's new residents because people get older and
Mhm.
they move on. So there's always constant change on the vineyard. There's now an influx of Brazilian folks who live and work on the island. Now, what's interesting about the island, just to deviate, is that I had a trip earlier this year. I went to Ireland, and they told me that in Ireland, and if you know a little bit about Ireland, a lot of the people in Ireland had to flee because there was a war and things of that nature, and they came to New York or wherever. They came to the States. And so the island of Ireland, they have to basically import people. They want people to come there so that they can work and things of that nature because somebody's got to do this job, that job, etc. Well, Martha's Vineyard is kind of sort of the same way where they bring in students from Jamaica or they bring in students from Eastern Europe. And now they have a new Brazilian contingency that lives there as well. And so those are the people who do a lot of the blue collar jobs and things on Martha's Vineyard. So there's a lot of diversity. I don't think people who've never been there know that.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of times people who've never been there, they think it's like Shangri-La, something like that. They think
It has. I mean, we've all seen a lot of the shows. It has a
Yes,
very elite
right.
and prestigious
Misleading,
space.
just
Yes.
misleading. Take it from me. It's very green. I will say that. And it's very lovely. It's very green,
Mhm.
as you can imagine. But it's just like it's normal, right? Like it's
no,
regular. Like
yes and no. That
because me and
element
her
is
argue about
there.
this all the time,
Right.
right? But
Oh my
there's
goodness.
obviously there's levels everywhere you go, right? Go to
Right.
Uh-huh.
California, there's levels, right? There's
Yeah. Yeah.
people who
Yeah.
live in the hills and they got tons of money, and then there's people down below who have no money. Same
Right.
thing on Martha's Vineyard. You got people who got tons of money, and then you have people who don't have a lot of money and have 3 or 4 jobs just to survive.
Mhm.
But for the most part, it's just regular. Like you're gonna have regular conversations with people. Matter of fact, people are gonna be more friendlier to you because you are a visitor or a tourist person, right?
Mhm.
And it's just regular. I mean, we've had you're gonna find you can find an upset or angry person anywhere you go, right?
Right.
That's anywhere.
But you can obviously find
Oh
your
my.
niche wherever you are on this island. Is that
Yes,
is
you
Yes,
that
can.
safe
you'll
to say?
find
Yes,
your
Okay.
tribe.
yes,
You will find your tribe, right? But
All
absolutely.
right,
I
I'm
mean,
with that.
yeah, but
Look, I saw specials already.
okay.
I saw some airline specials.
There you
I
go.
will say what I loved about your website is that you give very detailed instructions about how to book your stuff,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
everything. And you
real.
were very
It's
clear,
real.
like, if you book in this place, you're not on the island, you're on the mainland.
Falmouth.
And
That's
so
Falmouth. You're not
again,
on the
coming back
mainland
to
if you book in Falmouth.
logistics. Yeah, like
Right.
coming back to logistics, like, that had to be the other part of that, right? Is you're so removed from the mainland
Yeah.
that how was it to even like make that happen? Because you got to think like you're on ferry, I mean, how did you work out all those details as you've grown?
I mean, everything is digital now. It doesn't even matter. But we're from New York. We would just drive to Woods Hole is the last part of America. And then you get on the boat and then you're on the island. I don't know. We would just go there and make connections and, one of our first big sponsors was HBO, shout out to them. I know they're maxed out, but they'll always be HBO to me. And I think once HBO came on board, they definitely legitimized who we are, made it like, oh, this is real. HBO's doing it. And then from there, sponsorship grew and grew and grew, and people, started taking it seriously.
Okay, cool. All right, I'm going to shift gears a second because I didn't ask this question earlier. So it's safe to say this is a family business.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what are your roles as you are putting the festival together? Do you collaborate together, or you have individual roles for what you do for the festival?
I'm gonna say both.
Right.
That's the best answer. I'm gonna say both. I mean, I think, and those have changed as well, and they morph from time to time. In the beginning, as I mentioned, my wife was pregnant, and we had a little one. I was the person who did. I did projection. I did the projection.
We're going back there. Yeah,
I did all the Q&As and ran to get food and checked on the baby.
Listen, this was DVD. Here's Floyd like running in the back, changing the DVD, and then coming out. It's crazy. Like the visual, like.
Yeah, and my wife did the registration. She took the tickets and sold tickets and greeted people, and
it was just the two of us.
Had all the conversations and things of that nature. And then as it grew and we got more volunteers, as we left the Mansion House, which is a small hotel in Vineyard Haven, when we went to the high school, then we expanded even more, right? So now my wife doesn't do registration anymore, and I'm not doing projection, thank God. But we there's still a lot more work to do, right? It's not over. So what I do now, I'll tell you, is I'm I probably forget some stuff, but I'm mostly back end stuff on the website. Anything on the website, I'm either doing it or I got somebody I'm working with doing it. And I do the work with the graphics person in terms of the booklet that we create and all that stuff. I do all that stuff. I do all the curation of the films. So I have a team that I work with to curate the film festival and what we screen. What other hats do I wear? Merch. I do all the merchandise, and I work with my graphic person for that, and a few other things I'm probably are forgetting as well. And I'll let Stephanie tell you what she does.
So Floyd is the founder and CEO of Run and Shoot Filmworks, and I'm the CMO / Chief Operating Officer. So
she's my wife. She's my wife.
And I'm his wife, right? You're gonna behave. We talked about this.
That's
wow.
The queen
on the
like
put that foot down.
Okay, I get it. Board, right? So that goes everywhere.
He's very comfortable.
Straight up and down. You know what I mean?
So no flex at all. No flex at all. No flex. I love it. It was like.
And I do the sponsorship. So I'm on the, I do the initial sponsorship stuff. And so our team has grown. I think we've got like 12 people that we hire seasonally to work on the festival. And then about between 70 to 100 volunteers. So we wear a lot of hats. I mean, it's he and I's business. We oversee everything, but we have a great team that brings our vision to life.
We are expanding our bandwidth, but I mean, you have to, I'm sure if you talk to other film festival organizers, you have to wear various different hats. I mean, you have to keep those oars in the water to keep rowing the boat. That's what you got to do.
Good point. So the other thing, I was scrolling through your Instagram, and you also have a lot of programming, right? And one of the things I thought was interesting when I was doing in your 2024 program, you had a lot of the Vineyard Lounge conversations, and they're so diverse. So I wanted to kind of ask, just kind of briefly, since you all are both part of this collaboration, how do you, as you're planning out your season and your festival season, how do you decide on like your themes? Are people coming to you with ideas, or do you go to them with ideas?
Everyone asks us about a theme. We don't really do a theme. I think the theme just kind of comes to us organically. The Performing Arts Center, where we show the films, is like a 750 seat theater, right? So we always fill it, but it takes something to fill it, right? So if you're going to bring, we had Viola Davis one year. Of course, that's going to sell out. Everybody wants to see Viola Davis and Woman King. But then we'll have And I'll just say, we'll have Planned Parenthood, like they want to sponsor and do something, like, although very, very important and topical, might not fill 750 seats. So we have this beautiful lounge that our events team put together, and it's like 200 seats, and we have 3 monitors in there. So we do activations that are equally as important, but might not get, 800 plus people at that time, right?
Mhm.
So those are more so conversations. They might be extended trailers if we can't show the entire film. Sometimes they're like Q&As with filmmakers. It depends on what that spot, like Hyatt was our sponsor, one of our sponsors in the lounge this year, and they created like the Hyatt experience. So they turned the lounge into like their hotel lobby, and they had Black vendors and they had conversations. So it was great. Simply was our official beverage sponsor. So Simply just had all their Simply paraphernalia everywhere and giving people free drinks. So that's kind of how we differentiate what goes in the lounge and what goes into the Performing Arts Center.
So the other thing that I was reading is about that you are now an Oscar qualifying festival for short film category. And I was curious about this specifically for people who may want to submit films to your festival. The question I was curious about was, is there, now that that is part of what you do, is there a ratio of short films that you have to have as part of that, or is there any kind of quota of short films that you need to have in the festival that to qualify for that, or like how does that work, or there's nothing, you just kind of do what you do
So you're saying for us or for the filmmaker?
for for the Oscar qualifying part? I know that you are a
Right.
qualifier. Has
Right.
that changed? Is there a number of short films that you actually are seeking to have like a volume of it for you to
No,
have?
No.
Okay.
no.
Okay.
Mm-mm. I hope I'm answering your question. Like the Oscar qualifying thing is like you have to apply to.
Well, they reach out to you and ask you to apply. It's not open.
Yeah. Oh, it's
Okay.
not okay.
No.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
All right. And then they do have criteria that they're looking for. They recently added a fee. They didn't have it before. Now they have it's a small fee, very nominal. But yeah, it's been great. I mean, I think it adds gravitas to the event, of course. We would love it if we could get the documentary, category as well. Matter of fact, it'd be great if we could get the feature category as well. But I mean, that's another story. But yeah, hopefully in the future we'll get the documentary category. And I would also like to have one of my filmmakers, whomever that may be, kind of get some consideration. We've had some
We had
really
one that was
outstanding.
shortlisted. There was a short on Emmett Till, and that was shortlisted for the Oscar.
Yeah, I
Okay.
remember that. Yeah, and so yeah, you want to. I mean, not that would do anything for you, but you want to be included, and that's what it's all about, is them including everybody.
Right.
Okay.
I don't follow as far and to see what the list is. I would know if our filmmaker made
Right.
it though.
Films that are nominated for an award, our festival award, are the ones that are, so you have your nominations. So we have Best Short Feature and Documentary, and the film that's nominated for Best Short, the one that wins is the one that can apply to the Oscars. That's
Right.
how it
Got it.
Yeah,
So
they then the filmmaker then has to. It's in their hands, and they have to.
Right.
I think I send them a letter saying this
Right.
film won, whatever, and then they have to apply to the Academy.
Okay.
And last year's winner was the Rebel Girls.
Right.
I think her name was. I think it was Felicia Henderson, and I don't know if she's applying, but I hope she does. I mean, it was a good film.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. This is okay. So I'm gonna go a little back, going to 2020.
Mhm.
Um,
Oh
and
my
in
God.
2020, we're gonna talk about two things. Two
Yeah.
Okay.
questions. So the
Okay.
first question is probably the obvious question.
Mm.
COVID happened,
Yep.
and COVID hit a lot of businesses.
Yep.
And I know it probably hit you as well. And what I wanted to ask, like Stephanie, could you talk to me about how did COVID affect your the festival, and how did you pivot so that you could still have a festival?
It's funny when I tell that story. COVID to me was like everybody, it's the new year and everybody's excited and we're gearing up for another festival. like everybody else is around the world, whatever they do for a living. And, we're all driving down the highway and it's dark. And then all of a sudden we have to slam our brakes because there's this big pothole in the middle of the road. And we have to navigate in the dark to get back to where we came from. So that's how I rationalized COVID. So when COVID happened, Floyd and I were like, okay, oh my God, what are we going to do? It was very nerve wracking, especially in our home. And plus, our son was going to start his freshman year at Morehouse. So we had a lot of change going on. And then, if an angel all of a sudden emailed us and it was Facebook, and they are watching, boys and girls. So Facebook all of a sudden emails us, they reach out to us and they say, hey, did you ever think about doing your film festival online? And at that time, I took the call and I was like, I don't know. I don't think it's going to be hard for anyone to go to somebody's website and watch a film that they don't know about because everybody's trying to figure out what's going on. Are we all going to die during COVID? And they're like, no, 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 do the film festival on your Facebook page and we'll help amplify it. And I was like, oh, and Floyd and I were like, that makes sense because, during COVID, if anything, everybody was on social media, right? Because there was nothing else to do. So Facebook sponsored our virtual film festival and it was a huge success. It was crazy. Floyd did all of the programming for it. And I don't remember how many films we had. We did color of conversations with various, like the sponsors still came in, which was amazing because they still had to promote their product. So we gave them a platform to do that. And I think we were like only one of the only film festivals to do our film festival on Facebook with Facebook. Now, other festivals did virtual festivals on their website, but we did it on Facebook. And they gave us I guess they're called ad credits or whatever to amplify. Like some things had like 2 million, 3 million views, 500,000 views. It was insane. It was
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Now that's a win.
It was. It was. God is good. It was like, wow, yes, Facebook came out of nowhere, to be honest. Nowhere, but it was beautiful.
Okay. That's a great story. All right. So here comes the second part of that question.
Okay.
All right. Second part, 2020, George Floyd, Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
All right. And we saw a lot of companies commit to DEI initiatives. And I was curious about, with your festival, did you see a growth in sponsorship, a growth of people reaching out to you to help tell Black stories or diverse stories? And what has been the outcome of that? Or has there been any of that? Or you already had it?
A huge growth. Would you, Floyd? I think it's been pretty steady fast. Now, we did attract more luxury brands, but I don't.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with the George Floyd incident. I can't say yes, but I can't also say no.
Right.
I mean, that portion of it was growing. I mean, how that works really, Ed, is how I think it works is via word of mouth. And they all kind of know each other, so to speak. And they all kind of, whether indirectly or directly kind of speak to each other. And they ask like, hey, are you going to Martha's Vineyard? Oh, no, I've never heard of that. Oh, what's going on? Oh, and then they come. And so that's kind of how that works, in my opinion. Obviously, the George Floyd was horrible. That tragedy was horrible. But I'm not going to sit here and say that we benefited from it or that we didn't benefit. I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah. I mean, definitely I was speaking more like just the Black Lives Matter discussion and these corporate commitments to making
we haven't had that,
but you already had that.
Right.
Sort of, kind of, yeah. We were already kind of on that track.
It was pretty much business as usual.
Business as usual, yeah, I would say that.
I love it. I mean, because that means that you have a trusted brand anyway, so there's no need to change anything.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say it was business as usual. Yeah.
Oh, that is awesome.
And we haven't lost anyone with the disappearance of DEI at companies. Like I haven't seen, certain sponsors leave us because of that. Like they're still with us.
I love it. That was my follow-up question, but you already answered for me. Look at us. Look at this. I love it. Because I mean, when you're watching these companies now really struggling to say if they're going to be invested, but I think that's also something to your strength. And what you do is that it is about diversity. And so you either want to play in this space or you don't,
I mean, listen, companies want you to buy their product. Money is green. They don't care what color you are, right? They want you to buy their soap, their tomatoes, their toothpaste. So they have to market to those individuals. So we give these brands an outlet to market to whoever they're trying to market to.
I love it.
It's
I love it.
You know, that's the bottom line. Money is green.
I love it. That's great. So we got to talk shop now.
Okay.
So your festival, this is the 23rd season of the festival coming up. And when are submissions happening?
Right now as we speak.
Oh, wow. And what's the deadline?
The deadline is April. I mean, I know it's on it's on Film Freeway. I don't want to misquote myself, but I think it's in April. It might be either the 15th, if I'm not mistaken.
Tax day?
if it's on a weekday, yeah. But again, I don't want to misquote. So go to Film Freeway and then it show you when the deadline is. But yeah, they can submit their film now.
And they are. We've got over 100 submissions submissions already.
Awesome. Well, I already know we're off to a great start then. But this has been awesome. I really enjoy having a conversation with you too. And I'm so honored that we had this conversation, and I've learned a lot from you, and I learned about Martha's Vineyard, and I now know how cheap the flights are, so you never know. I really thank you so much for this. This has been a great conversation.
Absolutely.
I really learned a lot, and I know that people who are listening are going to learn so much from this, and hopefully for these young filmmakers and first-time filmmakers, they will be submitting soon.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right.
We are a Filmmakers Film Festival. We care about
There you go. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Okay.
That was Floyd and Stephanie Rance from the Martha's Vineyard African American Film Festival. Now, if you'd like to know more about submitting your film, buying tickets to the festival, or volunteering for the event, visit their website at mvaaff.com. So until next time, keep your head up.